Hey guys, I'm Rich. Welcome to Rich with Cars. If you're new to the channel, make sure to check out some of my older content where I cover luxury and performance vehicles, such as this week's vehicle. For example, I have the 2023 Aston Martin DBX. I've reviewed the DBX 707 before in the past, but I want to go over this vehicle to show you guys the value of purchasing a used DBX because they drop in price quite a bit, and I think as a used purchase, this SUV is amazing value. This car right here, it's got plenty of power. It's an AMG sourced 4-liter V8 twin turbo. As always, guys, I'm gonna be going over the exterior, the interior, cargo, engine, and of course, driving impressions. So as always, guys, let's strap in and take a look. Getting started right here in the front, guys, we'll want to take a look at the overall design. Aston Martin actually designed the chassis for the DBX as a standalone and bespoke chassis for this SUV. They're hoping that that the DBX was going to be something that was going to help them bring up the sales. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think they did a phenomenal job. So if we look at the design from the front, they retained a lot of the typical Aston Martin design cues, like for example, the grille and the headlights. So if we take a look at, let's say, for example, the grille over here, we get to see some of the horizontal veins that are finished in a brushed aluminum look. It's quintessential Aston Martin. Of course, then we have the badging in the front. This is actually, when they first came out with it, was the largest badge that they put on any Aston Martin for the DBX. Now, the grille itself also is the largest grille that they've put on any Aston Martin because the grille itself sucks in all that air for that amazing twin turbo V8 that is AMG sourced. So you need to have quite a bit of air to cool that engine in there. Then moving on to the headlights, we get to see that this is a classical Aston Martin sort of design. We get to see the LED on the inside. It's got sort of like a jewel-like design to it, and I love how it's got these lines inside with a brushed sort of finish that surrounds the LED itself. We get to see that the daytime running light is not inside of the headlight housing, but it's integrated here right at the air curtain. So it gives it a signature look when you look at the vehicle from the front with the daytime running lights on. So you have a couple of design lines that go here on each side of the hood, and then you have functional heat extractors in the middle of the hood. We're gonna go over the wheel design. I'm not a big fan of them. I think there's too much going on around here. It comes with 22s, which is a massive size. And not only that, these are wrapped in 285s, 40s, 22s. For a front tire, this is very, very wide. It's got a very wide contact patch. I do like this design portion over here, this design aspect of the side of the vehicle. I don't think that this one is functional per se, just because when looking inside of the wheel well, you don't see any sort of holes that basically allow air to go through. These door handles are flush to the body. The only thing I'm not crazy about is the fact that this doesn't present itself to you, so you have to basically push on one side and pull from the other. So if you got your hands a little bit tied up, it's going to be a little bit tough to open up. The other thing also is the fact that you have frameless doors, which gives it a very, very sporty design as well. The other cool thing about this particular Aston Martin DBX is the fact that you have soft closed doors. We have the rear wheels over here, same of course design as the front, and you do have also 22s, so they're not staggered, but they're staggered in terms of width. So I did say in the front you have 285s. The rears over here are 325s. 325s OEM. That's absolutely insane. So that's probably because this car has got quite a bit of horsepower. It's got 542 horsepower. And of course, you definitely need quite a bit of contact patch to put that power down to the ground. So finally here at the back of the DBX, I just want to go over some of the design features. One thing that's really cool that I love what they did was the fact that they made it very similar to the Vantage in terms of the design of the taillights. So you get to see that taillight that basically sweeps over to the top and then sweeps back down to the bottom. At night, you see these taillights be lighting up, and then when you hit the brakes, you have the third brake light over here that completes the entire light design at nighttime. Then of course you have the Aston Martin rear badge over here with also the written portion of the Aston Martin logo. The other thing also that I wanted to mention is the rear spoiler. It's a really nicely integrated spoiler with some air that basically goes between the spoiler and the window. And that's part of the reason why you don't see a rear wiper, is because the way that they designed it with the air going through here at the top, the air basically helps the water come off the rear windshield. And then as we get towards the bottom, I wish Aston Martin would have done an option to actually get sort of like dual tailpipes on each side to make it a quad tailpipe. They reserved that for the 707 version. I do like this 3D printed sort of finishing here that goes around the exhaust. And then of course you have somewhat of like a rear diffuser area that basically pops out a little bit over here, and that helps also with some of the aerodynamics of the vehicle. So getting to the cargo area of the DBX, I want to show you guys a little bit of its practicality. Total volume over here is 22.5 cubic feet. You do have a shelf over here to cover some of your contents. It is made, seems like it's made in leather, so that's pretty cool. It retains a lot of the quality and the luxury of the interior living space, if you want to call it. Then some things that are basically noteworthy, for example, you have two different functions here in the interior. So one of them is folding down the seats. So if you want to fold down the seats, you can. What I've noticed from this is the fact that they're sort of like a release. They're not automatic, so I don't think you can bring them back up automatically. You'd have to bring them back up manually, but that's fine. It gives you sort of additional space. The other really cool thing about the DBX is the fact that these buttons over here allow you to raise and lower the vehicle. So let's say you have really heavy groceries or you have a box that you need to put into the trunk. You can lower the vehicle to make your loading area much lower, so it makes it easier for you to load the trunk space. And since it's air suspension, it allows you to do that. A little extra area over here for your spare tire. Typical Aston Martin. You have the umbrella over here as well that comes with the DBX, and it's of course branded Aston Martin on the handle. You have the umbrella that sits here in the trunk space area. So all in all, like I said, the trunk area of the Aston Martin DBX, very practical. So the overall space over here is classic Aston Martin in terms of the luxury, fit and finish. A lot of the technology that they use for the DBX came from Mercedes-Benz. For example, the infotainment system, the control switches for the infotainment system. So this pad over here, this rotary dial, it all comes from Mercedes-Benz. And other things as well that you get to see that come from Mercedes-Benz are, for example, this wiper stock over here. That's also from Mercedes-Benz. There's a few downsides, of course, like the fact that the screen over here, the infotainment screen, is not a touch infotainment screen. You can only control it through either the rotary dial in the middle or the pad over here as well. You do have some functionality where you have the map area, you have your speedometer and your tachometer as well on the other side. And then you have some driver information display in the middle. Like right now I have my door that's open. So it might not be the most technologically advanced SUV, but in terms of a mix between the driver dynamics, luxury, and technology, I think overall it's a pretty good package. It's got a huge price tag when it's new, but like I was saying at the beginning of the video, if you're able to get this in the mid 100s or even like low 100s, so anywhere between 120 to 150 as a used example, the quality of the car that you get, you have mediocre infotainment or technology, but then you have stellar performance and stellar fit and finish and quality for the price that you get typically with maybe a high-end Mercedes-Benz or BMW. So ultimately, really nicely done even on the interior. So taking a brief look here at the rear seating area of the Aston Martin DBX, wanted to show you guys a bit of the space and some of the features or functions that you have. So I'm 6'1", and I basically have the seat here in front of me adjusted to my height. And you guys can see that I have quite a bit of space here between my knees and the front seat. So it's quite a bit of space to move around. And also because you do have this panoramic sunroof, I also have plenty of space for my head over here, heated and cooled rear seats. So you're able to adjust these over here, both in terms of the temperature and your fan speed. You have your little vents over here, and then you have some USB-A plugs over here to charge whatever devices that you have. It would have been maybe a little bit nicer if they placed these cup holders a little bit better, because if you have, let's say, a thick arm, I don't have a thick arm, but if you did, it might go into the cup holder area over here. So maybe if they would have done something that's like a pop out or something. But generally speaking, very, very comfortable here in the rear. Okay, guys, so we're getting into the engine of the Aston Martin DBX. So here we have the twin turbo 4-liter V8 sourced from AMG. As you guys can see, this was finally worked by one of the Aston Martin specialists. This, if I'm not wrong, I think it has 560 horsepower or 563 horsepower. But I'll be putting the numbers up on the screen for you guys to take a look at all the specs. I'm very happy that Aston Martin actually ended up using the AMG sourced twin turbo V8 because it's a solid engine. It sounds incredible, and there's a lot of adaptability to it, as you guys saw with the DBX 707, and even with the newer versions of the Aston Martins like the DB12 and the Aston Martin Vantage, the new one. You guys can also check my review on the Aston Martin Vantage, the 2025, up on the screen. I've put up a link there for you guys to take a look at. I'll give you guys some of the fuel efficiency numbers up on the screen and some of the performance numbers. As you guys can see here in the engine compartment, we have a strut brace that goes right over the engine over here that helps in terms of overall stability and stiffness. You guys have all the performance and a lot of the soul that comes with a twin turbo V8 with this engine that falls into the DBX. So driving the Aston Martin DBX so far feels quite good, actually. Let's not forget, guys, I did review the DBX 707. If you guys want, you can check out that review up on the top right hand corner, or whichever corner I put it in. But yeah, the DBX 707, when I drove that was absolutely phenomenal. That was just out of this world. Let's say that this one is, it still has the same sort of like bones of that drive. I still feel like it's got that power. Let's not forget it's got the same twin turbo V8 4-liter from AMG. So this one's actually a little bit detuned, and I think it's got different turbos as well. So this one, like I think I mentioned before, it does push 562 horsepower. And it does feel very responsive at the same time. In regards to steering response, it's not as tight or as responsive as a 707, but for a daily SUV, it's actually very, very good.
In regards to the suspension, it's very compliant. Even when I have it in Sport Plus mode, it doesn't feel jarring. Very livable for a daily driver and stiff enough for spirited driving. The brakes feel great. They don't require too much getting used to, in the sense that they don't have an aggressive bite upon initial push of the pedal, and they're very progressive. The transmission could use a little work. It is a ZF 8-speed, but it could be a little better calibrated. It's not super quick in its shift logic, but at least on auto mode, it does upshift and downshift when you expect it to in both Sport and Sport Plus modes. Ultimately, the drive on the DBX has about 70% of the performance of the 707, but still very pleasant as a daily with enough sportiness.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed this overall review on the Aston Martin DBX. So my conclusion on the value of getting a used DBX, hopefully you guys got to see that in terms of the overall review that I gave you guys, because at the end of the day with this DBX, you get performance, you get luxury, fit and finish in terms of quality, a little bit of technology. You don't get the best type of technology because it's older generations of Mercedes-Benz technology in terms of its infotainment systems. But generally speaking, it's a great package overall. And if you're able to get your hands on a used example of a DBX, so let's say like a year-old version, let's say a 2022, you could probably get it for, like I said before, in the mid 100s to the lower 100s if you're lucky enough, depending on the mileage. And I think for that type of price point, you can probably get very good value on that. I wanted to give a huge thanks to Aston Martin of Orlando for allowing me to review this vehicle. I'm going to put a link in the description below, and you guys can take a look at some of their information here up on the screen. Give them a call to see what sort of vehicles they have in stock and on the floor. I'm sure you guys could probably find a used example of a DBX. And as always, guys, thank you very much for all the likes, all the views. Make sure to stay tuned for additional content in the future. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.